So the first question, we haven't really talked about any type of negative slopes, as you can guess probably by the title here where it says slopes don't have to be positive, that we might start getting into some that are now negative, and it's nothing to be scared about. It's just a line that goes the opposite direction. Okay, instead of going up, it goes down. Okay, all these questions or these lines you could figure out the slope of. Let's just look at line S, for instance, and say, I just asked you a question and said, what is the slope of S? Yep.
Is it 1/3?
Okay, is it 1/3? Well, let's check. Now, I wouldn't start on this one because it doesn't go through a nice point here. So I would start at one where it does go through the point, and it goes up 1 to the right 3. So the slope of that one would be 1/3. It's not asking you for that. Okay, but you could figure that all out and see if any of them are parallel. If they're parallel, they got to be exactly the same. The other slope would have to be 1/3. Let's look at V and see if we can figure out the slope of that one now. We know it's negative. Georgia?
-1/3?
So it goes down 1, so that's why it's negative. It's not going up. It's down 1 to the right 3. So the slope of that one would be -1/3. Okay, and that would be the same now if you went the other way. It would be up 1, which is positive, and then left would be negative. Either way, it's -1/3. Remember, for negative, it doesn't matter if you put the negative sign on top, on bottom, or directly in the middle. They all mean the same thing. Where the negative is at doesn't matter. Okay? Now, which one doesn't belong? Let's answer the question. Autumn.
I said U because it's the only line that intersects with V that doesn't have a slope of 1/3.
Okay, this is the only one that doesn't have a slope of 1/3 that intersects this line. Sure. T, it's the only blue line.
U because it's the only vowel.
U because it's the only vowel.
V because it's the only one that goes through 2 lines.
This is the only one that goes through 2 lines. Actually goes through 3 lines.
Oops.
Kellen. Negative slope. Okay, you can make a case for all of them, but just be ready to explain your reasoning. All of those would be just fine. Question 2. Noah put $40 on a fare card. Every time he rides a public transportation, $2.50 comes off of the card. How much money in dollars is available on his card after how many rides? So if you take 0 rides, how much is left on your card? $40. If you take 1 ride, how much is left on your card? $37.50. $2.50 off of your $40 card. 2 rides.
35. 30.
Okay, now it's looking for an equation. Well, how much did I start with? $40. And I'm subtracting $2.50 per ride. And I'm using X. So there's your equation. If you take 10 rides, you take 10 times $2.50, you subtract it from $40. Okay, we're going to graph this relationship now on the next page. A couple things to keep in mind. If this is my equation, again, I like to write the x first. This always tells you the slope. So right there, that should tell you something about your line. It's negative. It should be going downhill. This should tell you your y-intercept, where you start on the y-axis. All right, so where's my first dot? $40. 1 ride, you told me was $37.50. Looks like this nicely goes by 250, which is super sweet, right? 2, 35, and then you should be able to keep just following. Mr. Bjorm is jamming. All right. Can I connect the dots? No. Why? Because you can't take a half a ride.
What?
The decimals here don't make sense. You're either going to take a ride or you're not. You're not going to take a quarter of a ride. Once you get on, you're going to pay your due, and you're going to get off. Okay? This is called a discrete graph. When you do not connect the dots, it's called discrete. When you do connect the dots, it's called continuous. It goes on forever. Okay, but this is discrete. My rides are always a whole number. Okay, question 3. How many rides can you take before you run out of money? 16. Where do you see this number of rides on your graph? What's the point? 16. 0 has to be in that order. Remember, the first number is your X. That would be the number of rides. Here's how much money I got left. All right, next one. Kinley, would you read that little sentence above the graph, please?
Of course. Here's a graph that shows the amount on Hans' fare card for every day of last July.
Okay, so take a look at that graph. What kind of line is that?
That's straight.
Discrete.
All lines are straight.
It's a line, not like.
It's horizontal. Discrete or continuous? That one's continuous. All right. Number 1. Describe what happened with the amount of money on Hans' fare card in July. It stayed the same. It never changed. He didn't use it. However you want to phrase that. Plot and label 3 different points on the line. Pick a point. Georgie, give me one. Any point on that line.
Okay, let's do 320. Or, yeah.
Brooks,
0.20.
Josh,
4.20.
pick any 3. It's fine. Write an equation. Represent how much money is in July. Now, you remember how to figure out slope from points?
You go up and over, or over and up.
Okay, you could count, yep. But do you remember from the 2 points?
You subtract.
Subtract the y's. Let's do it. 20 minus 20. 3 minus 0.
3.
What's my slope? 0. There's something to write down. Horizontal line. Slope is always going to be 0. Anytime you see a horizontal line. So my equation is y equals 0x plus 20 is my y-intercept. Now, most of the time, you're just going to see it like this because 0 times x is, of course, nothing. So anytime you have a horizontal line, it's not going to give you a slope. Why? Because there's no slope. Okay, picture of yourself on a ski hill with no slope. You're just going to stand there, right? There's nowhere to go. There's no slope. That's why it's 0. Okay, one other thing I want to mention while we're here. I'm just going to go to the bottom here. Let's talk about a vertical line, what that looks like as well.
It's a square.
Let's pick 2 points. Let's say it's 10-0 or 10-8 and 10-0. Let's just talk about what the slope is on this one. What do you think the slope is on this one? So it's the same?
No, 0.
You think it's the same as a horizontal line?
Yes. Yes. It's 10.
Okay.
No.
No. It's
Cause like, it
0.
would be like straight down, so would it be like?
0.
All right.
Negative 45.
Let's subtract the y's. 8 minus 0.
8.
10 minus 10. 0. Got your calculator handy?
No. I do.
Take 8 divided by 0. Just tell us what you get. Or 10. Yeah, 8 divided by 0.
It's error. Because if you get error.
You get error. Why?
Because you can't divide something.
You can't divide by 0. You can't take a piece of paper and divide it into 0 pieces. Okay? So anytime you have a vertical line, you're going to call it undefined or no solution. It is not possible. Okay? So the two things you need to remember. Horizontal line, slope of 0, you're not going to move. If you have a vertical line, and it's going to be bad for you if you go down that slope, right? If it's straight down. Yeah.
Get some real speed.
So just know, vertical line, you're in trouble. Can't happen. Okay, horizontal line, you're going to sit there. So know the difference between the two. That is always the case for every vertical and horizontal line. Okay, question 4. What value makes sense for the slope of the line?
Negative something.
0. You go up 0 over 1. Up 0 over 1. Up 0 over 1. So we just talked about that, guys. Horizontal line, slope of 0.
Negative 3.9.
That is not undefined. Don't get those mixed up. 0. All right, I want to give you some more time to work on your homework, so we're going to skip the Are You Ready and go to the last question. Sophia, would you read it, please, about Elena?
Elena borrows some money from her brother. She pays him back by giving him the same amount every week. The graph shows how much she owes after each week.
All right, there's 5 questions there. I'm going to give you a few minutes, see if you can answer those 5, then we'll discuss. Let's see how well we get the slope concept here. All right, a couple things. I'm seeing a lot of 3s, or 1/3, and I'm seeing a lot of positives and negatives. Okay, so remember, first of all, is it positive or negative? Negative, so everybody should have a negative sign. And now, is it 3 over 1 or 1 over 3? Don't say it out loud. I want you to just look at it again. Because I see about half and half.
Look at it.
Tis the number.
Remember, it's rise over run.
Can I say
Okay,
it?
so,
No.
No.
for how much of-
Up and down. Yep, rise.
It's not undefined.
what's this copy?
All right. So again, I'm going to find 2 points that are for sure I know the coordinates of, you could write the coordinates down and use a formula of subtracting the y's and x's, or you can count. One thing I like to do personally, I see it's downhill, so I'm going to put a negative sign so I don't forget it. That's easy to do. Now, how far up and down do I go to get one point to the other? 1, 2, 3. That's my top number. That's my rise. That's my up and down. And then I go to the right 1. Now, if it was me, I would leave the 1 off and I would just say -3. It is not wrong if you have it 3 over 1. If you have 1/3, that means you went down 1 to the right 3.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, that's not on the line.
So,
Down 1 to the right 3. Rise over run. You did a run over rise.
my explain was even because it goes to the right ones and down 3. I just put the wrong number. What?
Yep, you did. Rise over run. Question 2. Explain how you know whether it's positive or negative, Sophia.
The line is going down, so it's negative.
Line goes downhill. Elena is paying back her brother, so owes less money as time goes on. What does a slope represent in this situation? So what does a 3 represent in this situation, Colin?
The amount of money that she paid her brother per week.
Yeah, she's paying $3 per week to pay back the brother. $3 per week, big spender. How much did Elena borrow, Josh?
$18.
Right here, that's how much she started borrowing. Number 5, how much time will it take Elena to pay back, Evan?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
What if you charge us interest? That would be kind of sweet.
I would charge interest.
6 weeks.
Like, they're paying me for a month.
All right, a summary on page 86 again. Slope here is negative, it goes downhill. Okay, it doesn't matter which points you pick, the slope is the same. That's what it's showing you there. 1 over 1 would be the same as 5 over 5. The slope is -1 the entire way. It doesn't matter the points. Okay. Horizontal line, slope is 0. Slope is 0. All right, take a look at your homework starting on page 88. Chesney, would you read number 1, please?
Suppose that during its flight, the elevation E in feet of a certain airplane and its time feet in minutes since takeoff are related by a linear equation. Consider the graph of this equation. What time represented on the horizontal axis and the elevation on the vertical axis? For each situation, decide if the slope is positive, 0, or negative.
Okay, so here's the graph. Elevation is on the Y. Time is on the X, and it's going to give you 3 different situations. And said if you graph it, would the line be going up, be horizontal, or be going down? So that's what you're answering for those 3. You don't actually have to graph it, but you can if that helps you answer those questions. Question number 2, asking you 3 questions in regard to this information, and it also has a graph. How far? Be sure to explain. Write an equation. How many hours? Explain. Okay, and be sure you do that for number 2. Question number 3, it's giving you again a table. And then you select all that are true. Select all that are true. Final question, number 4, you're just matching the graph up with its slope. That should be super easy for you. Remember, rise over run there. Just matching. So only 4 questions.